Hey everyone, welcome to this video. In this one we're going to be talking a little bit about one of the simplest, cheapest tools and also one of the most useful tools that I have in my little shop. And I'm going to walk you through how to make one and go through a few of the variations of ways that you could do it otherwise depending on what you're doing. I'm also going to talk a little bit about a product that I bought that does similar job that may have a different application depending on what you're doing. So you could apply this to woodworking, 3D printing, jewelry, model making, doesn't matter what it is. It's a very useful tool that can go in many different directions. So today we're going to be going through a sanding stick. Very underestimated tool in my opinion, and I'll show you how I'm going to make these in a jewelry context. Now these are just simply paint sticks. I quite literally just walked into Home Depot and I said, hey, can I have some paint sticks? And they said, how many? I said, 18. Is that okay? I'm making these for a class. So they actually just gave them all to me for free. I actually did want to buy them, but they didn't have them for sale. So that was that. Now you don't have to use a paint stick. I find that the surface area is nice, it's light, it's easy, it's free. But you could use a round dowel. You can use pretty much anything you want, like a square piece of wood. If you can shape the wood, you can apply your sanding paper to it. It doesn't really matter. In this case, I like them flat because I can get a lot of surface area when I'm polishing a ring or something like that. It just helps get the job done a little bit faster. So let's get into how we're going to make this. All right, so this is what we're going to make, and it's a very simple tool. It's just the paint stick. I'm going to show you how to drill this in, how much sandpaper goes on the piece, and yeah, it's very simple. It doesn't take much. This will be a very short video. So I've already gone ahead and made a ton of these 600 grit ones because I'm preparing for a class, and these are part of the standard kit. This is kind of a beginner class, so we'll be using these. Anyway, to get this started, I went to the hardware store and I picked up this sandpaper. This is silicon carbide sandpaper. This is particularly good because it's waterproof. I don't usually sand wet, but I like that I have at least the option. I also find that this stuff just tends to last just a little bit longer, and it's just nice. They also offer it in bulk. They only had the 220 in this kind of like folder. I think there was five sheets in there, so not all that many. I forget how much this cost. I think it was $10 or something. Maybe it was even less. But they also had these boxes of 25 sheets, and I think there's a significant savings if you get the boxes. So anyway, I went with these 4 and 600 grit, and then the small of 220. And what I'm going to do is, I've already done 600, so we'll focus I think on 4. I've already opened this up, obviously. We'll pull out a sheet of this, and from here I'm going to fold it in half as most accurately as I can. Bearing in mind, of course, that this is, a grit. So if you have to bear in mind what you're working on. Having like a cutting mat might be ideal. In this case, these are work tables, so I'm not really too fussy about their overall condition. I don't think an extra little scuff here or there is going to make too much of a difference. But bear that in mind of what you're working on. If you've got your phone nearby, don't let this scuff the screen because this stuff will scratch, guaranteed. Anyway, so folded it in half on this side. Now I'll fold it in half on the other side. And that just kind of breaks the grit or the glue or whatever's holding this on. And then you can tear it. And you can tear it fairly evenly and accurately. Or you can cut it. It doesn't really matter too much. This is just quick. And we'll take a paint stick. And we're going to use the sheet as our marker. So for this, you also need a couple of other things. You're going to need some copper wire, or really any wire, it doesn't matter too much. But this is going to secure this onto the piece of paper onto the stick. In this case, I'm just using some scrap copper wire that I had laying around. This is 1.62 millimeters. I don't know what gauge that is, but it doesn't really matter. You can use something thinner. Thicker is okay, as long as it's going to serve the purpose. We also need something to cut the wire, so I've got a pair of snips. I've also got a Sharpie, so we can mark out a few of these things, and a pair of more heavy-duty pliers that we'll use to crimp this all together. So, on our sanding stick, we'll use this as the template. So I'm only going to make one mark right there. And then from there, we're going to go up about a ½ inch. We'll put another mark. Now this is, when I fold this over, we're going to lose that mark, but that's okay. And then up here, another about ½ inch down, another mark right there. Okay. So, as tightly as you can. Wrap that around the stick, and that's that. Now you can use a drill or something, it doesn't really matter what exactly it is, to make this hole. I'm going to be using my flex shaft just off camera for 1 second. So I just drilled these 3 holes very simply. If you're going to use a drill bit, make sure that the drill bit is not one that you love and cherish, because this is sandpaper. It will start to ruin, it will make the drill bit dull, basically. So I've drilled all the way through the sandpaper, both sides. And I'm going to put that one in there. All the way through. Bend it. And I'm just going to nip it about a ½ inch up, so that we have a little bit there. And very unceremoniously, I'm just going to bend this over and fit it into the other side, crimping it flat. Now, how you attach the wire doesn't matter too much. Just bear in mind that you're going to be holding it down here. So don't have, like, you know, a hook or something sharp and pointy facing your hand, or something you can get caught on, okay? So I'm just bending over that little bit that was standing out, and I'm bending that one over like so. Very simple, something that we can undo later when we run out of sandpaper. You can always get another paint stick. That's obviously a free resource, so don't worry too much about that. And then for the top, I'm going to push through about a ½ inch, and then I'll snip about a ½ inch on the other side. Don't need that anymore. Bend these 2 up, bend one over, and the other one over. And just using the pliers, I'm going to crimp that just a little bit tighter, just like so. And you can make that as clean and pretty as you want. I'm happy with that. Okay, so there is our stick. And then of course you want to know what grit it is, so using your Sharpie you can very simply mark it. And then yeah, you just keep this as like a set. You can keep them in a spot that's close by, sand, put away, whatever. This will work wet, it will work dry, it doesn't matter. And then when this is all worn off, you can just tear this piece right off, and you maybe use both sides. It doesn't really matter too much, depends on how up to date you want to be with it. But use both sides, tear, and then cut that off, and then you've got another fresh set ready to go. And then when that all wears down, then obviously you replace it. So if making one doesn't suit your needs, or maybe you need something a little bit different, I purchased these from Guesswin a while ago. These are another kind of sanding stick, but I think they're marketed as a sanding belt, actually. So essentially, all the different colors are a different grit. You can interchange them however you prefer. I've also written on them in Sharpie, just, you know, what the grit is so I don't forget. But basically, all it is a piece of plastic. You can see it's got a nice little taper there, so it comes to a nice crisp, sharp edge that you can get into little details with. And then when that spot that you're working with wears out, you can push it in and just kind of rotate the belt. And you can switch the belts out, of course, as needed. Also back here, there's a little bit of slack. There's a rounded spot, lots of flats. And just in general, I find these to be very useful for 3D printing. Say I've snipped off a support and I want to just get inside a little detail, just to file off that little nub that might be left over. These are very, very useful. Likewise with jewelry, if there's a little spot that I need to get into, then these are very handy. I like that the belts are interchangeable. I like that I can rotate the piece of sandpaper through if that spot's worn out. Or it's a very diverse tool. I like that they all come in different grits. I think I actually got a sample pack, so this came with 5 sticks and then all of these belts, and I believe there's 10 of each belt in each bag, and I think it was, I don't know what the cost was, I can throw that up on the screen. So yeah, if you don't want to make one, you can always buy these. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you don't like the paint stick idea, then you can always get a piece of dowel or whatever shape suits your needs best. So that's it for this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Comment if you have a better solution or just want to share what you've done. If you have any questions, just let me know and I will help you as best I can. I'll see you in the next one.